All right, good afternoon, everybody. Awesome, thanks for joining, guys. My name is Abby Quinn. We're going to give it about another 60 seconds. We've got pretty good attendance so far, but we might just give another minute to let people hop on. Very excited to have you guys here this Thursday. It's not raining out here in DC, which is nice. Just for any of those of you that have not been on one of these sessions before, they are through Teams live events, which means that unfortunately we can't have anyone come off of mute right now. We do have the ability to have a Q&A. So those questions are going to be filtered through by myself, and also my colleague Adam Shao is on the call as well. We'll be presenting today. My anticipation for the session is to have this be as interactive as possible through a live event. Please submit your questions through the Q&A. We will bring up questions that kind of adhere to the larger group, bring those up and talk to them. We'll also be responding privately if possibly the questions maybe pertain to someone's specific organization. I don't know about y'all, but working from home has me a little goofy. So if you hear me singing sometimes, when I'm navigating my demonstration tenant, don't be alarmed. It happens. So we're going to talk through some best practices today, some tips and tricks that we've learned from internal Microsoft, but also some that we've learned from our customers. And kind of the way that I want today's session to go is we'll go down the menu bar. So we'll start off with some tips and tricks in chat, go into Teams, go through Calendar, definitely touch on file sharing. And just, as we navigate through those different sections of Teams, please feel free to ask your questions. And we'll just go from there. I hope this is as interactive as possible. Adam, feel free to come off mute whenever you'd like and let us know what else you have to bring to the table here. But I'll go ahead and kick us off with one of the things that I'm excited to announce is we have uploaded and kind of finalized our schedule for September. So we've got the same exact time frame. So every Tuesday, Thursday from 1 to 2:30 p.m. Eastern, we're going to be hosting these sessions. We've got some of those fundamental sessions, but one of the sessions I'm very excited about is actually happening next Thursday, the Teams fundamentals, but it has a focus on channel management and team structure. So one of the big questions we get all the time is, okay, when do I create a team? When do I create a channel? And this is exactly what that session is going to be kind of, what's it called? Combating or illuminating. Teams and channels can get a little wonky just because sometimes whenever your organization first sets up the ability to create teams, it can be like everyone creates a team. I think that one of the things that is really important to note is the channel is kind of like a subdivision underneath the team. So keep that in mind. But that session will be brand new. We're going to have some new information and some new presenters. And then the other piece, as we're navigating through these sessions and working on them through the duration of 2020, we are asking for feedback, and that feedback we're actually taking directly into these sessions. So if there is a session that you really want to hear, or you want to hear again, or you want to know more about, put that in our feedback survey, because I really am going through all of that information and trying to cater to what people are giving feedback to. So if there's something about Teams that you have no clue on, or you've never seen a session on, would love to hear your feedback and get that information from you directly so that we can best cater to the customers who are attending these. So that being said, I'll keep us going and I'll switch right over to our demo tenant. So just 2 seconds here. And I do have a more final Outlook template schedule that I can share too. So one of the questions that we got, one of the feedback that we got from the feedback survey itself was, what are the overall advantages to Teams, and why should I pick Teams over email? And I like to think of email as your more formal correspondence, your more formal communication. Maybe it's the communication that you have whenever your entire team needs to be aware of something, but that's coming from maybe a higher up, like a manager or someone who is, maybe giving out information that is pertinent to something relevant to payroll or working from home, like giant memos maybe going out through email. But I think Teams, maybe in the far, far, far away future will completely eradicate email altogether. But Teams is, I like to think about it as more of your informal communication. I like to think that Teams is where you can get quick questions, quick answers. You can get work accomplished faster, and it integrates with everything that is Office 365 and Microsoft. You're the ability to stretch what you have going and what you work on through Microsoft. You're so much. The capabilities in Teams are amazing, even in GCC. We talk about GCC, which is the Government Community Cloud, having some limitations because not everything that is available commercially is available in the government cloud. But regardless of that, the integration with Excel, PowerPoint, Word, Exchange, SharePoint, the things you're used to using, it's all in Teams. So when we say it's the hub for teamwork, we really mean that. And I like to just throw in that it is our fastest business application. It's the fastest growing business application in Microsoft history. We've had more adoption of Teams, especially in light of everyone working from home right now. We've had more rapid adoption of Teams than any other product we've ever put out. So when used correctly and when users are made aware of all the capabilities, it really is an awesome, awesome tool to have in your workday. So I'm going to switch over to our demonstration environment. And just so everyone knows, this is going to be in the web browser. So some of the things on here are a little different than what you're going to experience in your desktop application. But I do encourage you to, as I'm going through some of these tips and tricks, try them out on your own. There shouldn't be anything that I'm showing that you can't see on your own if you're using the desktop application. If you are in the web browser, I recommend downloading the desktop application. The experience is a little bit better, but for demonstration purposes, we do have to use the browser itself. And my name in this is not Abby Quinn. My name is Maud, which is just due to our tenant environment. But on that note, my name is Abby Quinn. I've been a CSM at Microsoft for 2 years. I exclusively work with Microsoft Teams in the government space, and I've been helping, hosting, kind of working on these Teams trainings since the very beginning of March, whenever everything changed. So for those of you that know me, thanks for coming back. For those of you that are just joining, I really hope you come back. So we'll start today in the chat section. In chat, relatively self-explanatory. I don't want to go into fundamentals because that's another session. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about some of the things that you may not know. One of the things that we get some feedback on is, well, when I click enter, it always sends the message immediately. So Adam, I'm going to go talk to you. And I have we actually learned this tip and trick internally from one of our colleagues. And you can, type out a message. Do accidental error. And if you didn't know, you can actually click twice on the up arrow and it'll take you right back into that message. So let's say that you said something really, really fast and you made a typo, or you accidentally sent this to the wrong person and you need to do a quick oopsie daisy, I need to flip the switch and say something different. You're able to go backwards and change, how are you? ? So for those of us that maybe type as fast as we talk, the little up arrow, just double click that, it brings you right back into the message. So super minor, not a big deal, but once I learned about it, I use it all the time. Adam, have you ever used this one?
I don't really use that much, actually. Sorry, I'm just logging in so I can respond to you. But
you're fine.
yeah.
I thought this was so interesting to discover because it's like those little, keyboard shortcuts that make life so much easier. But another quick tip and trick from the chat menu or the chat bar down here is this little A with the paintbrush will actually let you kind of format your message. If you do want to make a more formal, or if you want to have different options whenever you're writing a message to someone, especially if there's like dates or something that's really necessary, you can use the highlighter function or bold or italicize. But not a lot of people know that if you click this little A with the paintbrush that you get more formatting. The other thing that this changes is if you click enter, it's not going to send the message immediately. So you get a little bit more time with the content you're trying to share or the message that you're trying to send. So I'll go ahead and I wonder what this, oh yeah, you can actually make headings and stuff. So it's just another way that you can make, if you're used to email and you're trying to transition to Teams, I think this is a really good way to kind of dip your toe in the water. Because I know a lot of people, especially in federal agencies, are used to a little bit more formal communication and having some, I don't know, kind of like font politics. So I think that this is a good way to kind of bridge the gap between email and Teams so that you're able to have a few more options. But another thing to know is on the one-on-one chat, you can actually schedule a meeting directly from the chat itself. Oh,
Abby, if you don't mind, we've had a bunch of questions about the keyboard cursor up, like where's the up arrow? That people are really curious about that.
Okay.
Would you mind answering that?
Yeah, of course. On your keyboard, the up arrow. So I don't even know another word to describe this, but the keyboard that goes, the arrow that points upwards, not the one that's the caret top, like not the 6, like Shift 6. It's the one where you just click up and you just double click that. I'll send another message really quick. And then I sent the message and I'm going to double click on my up arrow right above it's like wow, this is really hard to describe on your keyboard. And then you can just go backwards and it actually opens up. I love questions.
I think we're good. Thank you.
Okay. Awesome. Were there any other questions, Adam, right off the bat that anybody submitted?
We did have one around, can we think of Teams as an equivalent to Trello or Slack? I think it's kind of an interesting question.
That's a great question. Okay, so I don't even think I'm allowed to say Slack, but I will. I think of Teams as better than Slack, obviously. And the Trello piece I will show a little bit later. We do have an application in Teams called Planner, which is kind of like the project management tool within Teams that you can integrate into your teams and channels. It kind of gives you the ability to create that Kanban style of project management. So I definitely think that you can create a parallel between Trello and Teams. And without a doubt, there are so many things that we have capitalized on in Teams that are comparable to Slack, if not better, but they are better. Good question.
Yeah, and they're built in similar ways. Slack and Teams kind of have a similar kind of feel. I think the big difference with Teams is it's integrated into Office 365, right? Where Slack is kind of a standalone tool, and like for instance, if you want to use document collaboration in Slack, you'd have to go out to Google Docs or whatever, right? The thing about Teams is it's all, everything that you need to do with a group of people is all built in at the beginning. So, yep.
And I will say that, Teams in and of itself was sort of created in competition with some of these other, team structure, channel management organizations that are creating these startups that are creating this awesome way to collaborate at work for several different reasons. I mean, now we are working with a virtual workforce. Your teams are spread across not only geographies, but we're not doing the organizational structure that everyone has been used to for several decades. It's very different, and Teams helps everyone have the same space and same place to collaborate on. So I think that thinking about it, comparing it to Slack and also seeing it for what it is as a Microsoft product is important because it does integrate and it is more secure, especially when we're talking about federal organizations. So awesome question. Thank you for submitting that one. Really helped talk about the overall advantages to Teams. Was there any other ones that popped up, Adam?
Not at the moment. I think we have a couple as time goes on, but I think we're good for right now.
Sounds good. The next tip and trick I was kind of going to mention was this this little calendar button. So one of the things we got some feedback in our survey that was in regards to how to schedule meetings in Teams. And this is just one of several ways that you can create a Teams meeting. And that is this little calendar button with the plus sign. And right here, it took us straight to the create a meeting and it added Adam as the other participant in the meeting. Excuse me. One thing to note is that Teams is built on the idea that you're not doing personal work. So it's not, Teams and GCC has not yet been made super easy for adding in your own personal tasks. And on that example, you can't create an appointment in Teams that doesn't have another attendee. So if you want to create a meeting, you have to make sure that it also has another person in it. If you're putting in that you have a dentist appointment, you won't be able to create that in Teams unless you want to invite someone else to your dentist appointment. continue to use Outlook and Exchange for those things or those personal appointments. If you want to schedule focus time or if you want to schedule time that doesn't involve another individual from your organization, make that in Outlook, because in Teams, it does require you to have another person in attendance. So with Adam here, I'm going to make us a meeting that says Teams training.
And once you get through the setup, not to rush
Sure.
you there, but when you're done, we had a question around how do you control a meeting so that you can like control who can present and that kind of stuff. So for
Sure.
after you get it set up.
Okay, sounds good. This is just me making a meeting, a random meeting with me and Adam, but just like you're used to, all I had to do was click that little calendar with the plus sign in our one-on-one chat, and I'm able to go to a scheduling assistant. I'm able to see when Adam is available. And of course, remember, this is a demonstration. Adam is a very busy man, so typically he would not have this open spot. But I'm going to go ahead and write down here, just be ready to spelled ready wrong, but that's okay. Discuss the feedback survey. And I'm going to send that off, and it goes straight to his calendar. So he will get the opportunity to RSVP to that, just like you're used to if you were sending an Exchange meeting invite. So I went through that faster because I did get the question. So Adam, will you repeat what that question was?
Yeah, just on the meeting bridge that you just sent, if you could go back to it and show the meeting options that opened up in a separate browser. Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Got it.
Scroll down a little. Yeah, cool.
So every time you create a Teams meeting, you get this little Join Microsoft Teams meeting link. This button is actually an active link here. If you send this to someone in your organization, someone outside of your organization, they are going to be able to click on this link and join the meeting. This is for a Teams meeting. So at the current state, you can have 300 people in a Teams meeting that can go off of mute and participate with one another. That's oh, yep. Am I wrong?
That's it.
Okay. So I think that it's just important to note that as we're here right now in a live event, that is what we're currently using for this training. So that is why you guys cannot come off of mute and ask questions. But if we were just in this regular Teams meeting, you would be able to come off of mute and interact with each other. Just important to know there's also this call-in number. If for whatever reason you lose Wi-Fi or you need a way to get in, you will be able to use this number, use this conference ID, and dial in just like you're used to, kind of like Skype. And then the meeting options down here. I can't click it from here, can I?
If you hit Control, I think you should be able to.
So this is kind of the like admin portal of the meeting session. I keep getting a bad network quality. Is my audio coming in just fine?
You sound great.
Okay, good. So this is going to be, if you have a level higher of people that you want to be able to bypass the lobby, you would be able to select those modifications here. And then if you want to modify who can present, you can modify that here as well. And all I did there was create the meeting itself and then went ahead and clicked on the meeting options button. Did that clarify that question? I'm going to get a sip of water.
Yes.
Okay, sounds great. Any other ones on meetings specifically? Because we can also go into meetings again when we talk about calendar.
Yeah, let's wait until then. There's a couple, but that'll be perfect.
Okay,
yeah.
Sounds good. I'm going to hop on out of here. Go back to Teams. And for those of you that don't know, your Teams calendar will actually mirror your Exchange calendar. So, and just because you can't create focus time in Teams doesn't mean that if you have a meeting or an appointment in your Outlook calendar, it will show up on your Teams calendar. So on that note, I will say that I probably spend in an 8-hour day, 7 hours and 30 minutes in Teams. And I try to really limit myself in Exchange or in Outlook. Excuse me. I think that Teams is just a quicker way to get work accomplished and a more productive way to go through my day. We did I think it was a Forrester research study that basically said every time you switch screens, you lose 8 seconds. So like whenever you go from Outlook to SharePoint to your browser back to Skype, you're losing 8 seconds every time you switch that screen. And whenever you add all that up over a week, you're losing like valuable time every week trying to rewire your brain to recognize what it is currently that you're doing. So I like the purple Teams portal to kind of get all of my work done. So I typically start in my activity feed and then go down. But I think that was what I wanted to cover as far as chat goes. I will say one of the things that I think is really valuable to remember is you can create group chats. And this kind of speaks to the Teams channel management and like Teams management piece. If you have a project that's going to be done in 2 weeks, I recommend just creating a group chat with the people that are involved in that project. If you have a long-winded project that's going to take 6 months to a year or even 6 weeks to 6 months, that's whenever I would recommend making a team. But I think the group chat functionality for quick things, or we even use the group chat for like even a like degree less formal than Teams and channels. So Adam and I use it internally with our colleagues in our work group, and we don't have our manager in that conversation, so that if we need to have something super informal, we can talk about happy hour later. But I think that, think of email as your most formal, think of Teams and channels as your kind of medium, and then group chats as your least formal. Adam, did you want to add there?
I'm just like furious on Q&A. Sorry. Yeah, I think so. I think that makes sense. Yeah, channels would be, I think of chat as like kind of one-on-ones and more informal stuff, and then channels being more work and project related.
Absolutely. One of the things that a lot of people don't know is you can actually change the name of a group chat. So if I want to go up here and add different people, so I'm going to add Bonnie, and let's add Asia. Let's add Shane. I'm going to add all of them to a group chat. I can go up here and kind of hover over this group chat. Oh, wait, it's not going to work now, of course. I need to send something first. I am from Texas, so here's my y'all. Oh, yep, there we go. And then this little pencil shows up, and I can actually create a project group name if I need to. So just quick, easy little tip there. But with that, I am going to take a quick look at the Q&A and see if there's any chat questions, and then head on over to Teams.
No chat questions. I think we're okay on chat right now, Abby.
Okay.
There's a lot of questions around calendaring and if Teams is a separate calendar. So I've been answering that. The calendar that you see in your Teams client is the same calendar as you'll see in Outlook. So it's actually in the back end like the exact same, and it should sync within seconds of each other. So you can set up a meeting in Outlook, you can set up a meeting in Teams. Either way, it'll be the same calendar that the meeting is added to.
Yeah, and I'm just going to go to my demonstration Outlook and show you so that you can see that the calendar in Outlook is the exact same. So here is my little Outlook email, and you can see that I've had different invitations from the demonstration. Doesn't know that I've been here before. Here is my calendar tab. Let's have it show work week. Just taking a little minute. Oh, on the web browser, it actually tells you the weather. It is not 64 degrees right now. It's definitely warmer than that. Okay, so if this was loading faster, you would be able to see that this is the exact same as my calendar in Teams. Again, the only caveat there is if you are going to do something by yourself and you're not inviting another person to it, you would want to make that appointment in Outlook. I don't know why it's taking so long to do this, but I might be working my computer a little too hard. So anyways, we'll head on over to Teams. So I like to say there's a lot of different analogies and metaphors that are out there to kind of describe the Teams and the channel situation. So Teams is everyone that you need in a project or everyone in your work group is you're going to want to make a team for them. Channels are like the subdividers in a binder that explain what needs to get done, or the work that needs to get done, or the groups that are inside your department that need to get work done. Everyone has visibility. So for example, the Newsletter Ninjas, everyone who is a member of Newsletter Ninjas has access to all of the channels that you see that do not have a master lock, a little lock symbol next to them. The lock indicates that's a private channel, and you can create private channels to limit the members that are in that channel. So a great example of this is if you have a leadership team within your work group or within your user group. This is an excellent opportunity to use private channels because you might have some sensitive material you're sharing, or you might have meetings that you don't need everyone to attend. Private channels are also a really great use case as far as whenever you're having meetings and using that for breakout rooms. So I'm going to actually kind of switch over to Adam if now is a good time. And then Adam, while you're talking, I'm happy to take over some Q&A.
Yeah. Getting lots of questions, so yeah, I think you better. Okay, yeah, happy to do that. So let me go ahead and share out my screen. Okay. I'm going to go over 2 different use cases because it's a best practices session. This has come up with, I work with a bunch of federal customers, and this has come up with my customers over and over again. And so I thought I would show both to see if hopefully it applies to you too. So here we go. Okay.
So we're going to switch content share. So I'm going to actually, you might see a blank screen, everyone. There we go.
There we go. Cool. All right. So everyone, this is my GCC demo tenant. So everything in here, if you're in GCC Cloud, it might look slightly different, like Abby had mentioned, but everything is available to GCC that I'll show. So for 2 things. So first, I'm going to show how to set up a registration page for an event. So here's the use case is, well, we don't want to just send out a email invite to thousands of people. What we want to do is we want to advertise an event to the public, so something that thousands of people might join. But we want people to send us registration information before they can access the event. So how might we do that? So the way you can do that, so if you think about all the different tools in Office 365, you know, it's kind of interesting, right? Like there's probably more than one way to do this, but this is, I think, a great way, is to use Forms, which is our survey tool, as the registration page front, and then use Power Automate, which is a workflow tool. It's like a trigger tool, so it's like if this, then that, you know, so that when somebody submits a form on the registration page, then automatically, without doing anything, they'll also receive an email with the live events information, because these typically are larger meetings to the public. Live events is what we're using today. This tool is typically a better solution than like a standard Teams meeting, because you might get more than 300 people. And live events, which is what we're using today, you can get like 10,000 or even 20,000 people on without any issues at all, and even more actually. So anyway, so that's the use case. So let's go through how I might do it. So first, we would click Forms, and your survey tool will pop up. So I have a bunch in here. I'll just use the one that we actually used before. So this is anyway, this is just a survey. So for those who haven't used Forms, you might want to play around with it. It's sort of similar to SurveyMonkey if you use that. It's really intuitive, really easy to use. We just kept it simple. So we had the title of the event, and then we have 3 different fields that we're asking for registration. You could add in more. You could add in you know, why did you join? You could add in maybe phone number or any other personal information that you wanted to capture. Whatever you want to capture for your participants, you could add in here. So someone will go to this event, and then this URL is what you would share via you know, LinkedIn or social media, or maybe a blanket email to tens of thousands of people, or whatever it is. So first is building it out. So go through and just like build it out. These are the 3 fields we have. To add more fields, just click the Add New. You have a few different options here. You know, multiple choice, text fields, rating, which is like how are we doing 1 to 5. You can do a Likert if you've seen those before, like a table. You can also add different sections. But anyway, for this purpose is pretty simple. So we just add in different questions or different fields from there. And then this is what it would look like to someone who joined, or someone anybody who clicked the URL to get here, right? Just type in the information here and hit submit. And then we want to make sure that we're able to share this publicly. So this would be, this is key. If you're doing something with the public and not just with the organization, you want to make sure to click this link here, which is by default, anyone, well, actually, it might depend what is by default in your organization, but you click this, and if it's configured this way, if it's turned on, you should see two options. Anyone on this link can respond, or only people in my organization can respond. If you only see only people in my organization, that just means you need to work with your admin to flip the switch on the back end to make sure that you can send these out publicly, okay? But you do have the option to do that once that is selected on the back end. So anyone with this link can respond, great. This URL here, I can copy that, that's what I'd share via LinkedIn or whatever. That's what I would advertise broadly. And then people would come in, they'd submit the form, and then we want to set up the flow using Power Automate to make sure that they get their live event information right when they hit submit automatically, right? Okay, so next step is doing that. Any questions on forms before I move on to the next one, Abby?
Oh, I am just, navigating the other questions. I will scroll down in a moment.
It's okay, it's okay. We'll come back to it. So that's forms in a nutshell. And then, so if I go back to all of my tools here, right? You might not see all of these depending on how you're licensed, depending what's turned on in your organizations, but this is everything that's available to GCC. I can click Power Automate. And Power Automate is this workflow tool. And to kind of quickly go through Power Automate before I go through this use case, if you have access to it, you might just want to play around with it. And a great place to start is on templates. So if you click templates, you'll see a lot of pre-built workflows that you can start applying to your work life immediately. So this is one up top that's really popular. You can see the amount of times I think this has been downloaded in this. I actually don't know. Anyway, whatever. You can see this. This is one of the top popular workflows, which is saving Office 365 email attachments to OneDrive for Business. So what that does is every time you receive an email with an attachment in it, instead of like having to drag that and drop to a folder, what this workflow will do is every time you get that email, it'll automatically save that document to your OneDrive folder. So it'll set up a folder in OneDrive and it'll pop in all of the files that you get via email there. And then that way you have one place you can go to for anything you got in an email. Just might be a little bit easier to manage that way. So anyway, so all of these, you can play around with these. You can type up here if you use Planner a lot, for instance, you can type Planner and see what are available for Planner, or maybe use SharePoint lists a lot. You can see what you can do in SharePoint lists, and then you can build your own. So we're actually going to build our own custom, but just so you know, you might want to check the templates first if you're looking for something, and there's like hundreds of them available. Okay, so how we build our own is I go to My Flows here, and this is one that I already built. So I'm just going to quickly show you what it's going to look like at the end, and then I'll quickly run through and show how to build it out. So I'm not going to take a ton of time here, but this is what the end result should look like. So if you click the workflow, this is what the workflow visual looks like. So basically what this is saying is when this happens, then this happens, then this happens, all automatically. And I could branch this out further. I could say, like, when this happens, I want this to happen and a concurrent thing to happen. I could have 2 or 3 branches. I mean, you really kind of get crazy with it. But this is a pretty simple one. So when a form is submitted, I'm going to grab the details from the form, because if you go back to the form here, one of the questions is email. And I'm going to take whatever that answer is in email that the person populated, and I want to take that and use that to send an email to that address that is pre-populated, okay? So if I'm going to click and expand these, so I selected the form that we just looked at, so that's all that is, so just selecting the form that you want to use. And this grabs the details from the form so I can use that email field. So that's what this does. And then this actually builds out the email that's automatically going to get sent. So you see here this dynamic content. If I click that, that'll show the fields that are in the survey. So email was one of the questions in the survey, so I'm going to click that. So now I'm going to, whatever was submitted in that email form will show up here. I can type in the subject. I can type in the details like, hello, thank you for registering. It's going to be at this time. And then I would directly just copy and paste the link to the live event directly in here, okay? So you save that, clicking this little button down here. You can test it by clicking one of the flow checkers, no errors, great. I can actually test it and run it if I wanted to. I'm not going to do that at the moment, but that's basically how you set it up. Yeah, so you'd hit create and you'd hit automated flow. There's a few different options, and we're going to say registration. And it already pops up top here. This is the one I want, but if, because we're starting with forms, I'm going to click forms and all the forms ones pop up. So my trigger is form. So when that happens, and I'll pick the form we just looked at, which was titled this. When this happens, I want to, I'm going to type in forms again, want to get response details. So far, so good. And then this would be like send a calendar or an email or whatever you want to have happen. You could send a notification through Teams so that someone gets a post on Teams. So anyway, so that's how you do this. And I'll take any questions about that. I kind of just wanted to quickly go through high level what that looks like. We have a lot of resources on learning more and practicing more with this tool, but just want to quickly show what's possible. Because that's one of like thousands of things that you can do with Power Automate, right? You could do something where whenever somebody submits a form, you get a notification in Teams to a channel, and then also you could populate a new task in Planner, for instance, right? So if you use Planner for managing, a group of tasks, or maybe like a process, like maybe it's an application for something and you go through different stages of the application, that would be a great way to do it. Okay, so that's the first use case. Any questions there? I know I went through that fast, but Abby, any questions there?
Just some questions on where to get more information on Power Automate. And I think that could be an awesome session to put in the feedback survey, because we should probably do a session on Power Automate in Teams.
Yeah. And I'll post in some MS Learn. I'll post in some content here in a minute after I'm done. That has a bunch of really great stuff.
And we do have some questions about sharing forms publicly because of the federal customers. And my understanding is that you are able. Forms just recently was admitted into GCC.
Yeah, well, actually, it's been in GCC for a while, and you can share publicly. So a lot of my federal civilian customers already do this. So you can share this link publicly with the public. It just has to be turned on in the back end.
Are there ways to make other owners of a form, or is it just?
Good question. Sure can. This little share. So over here, I click the share button, right? Share to collaborate down here at the bottom. If I wanted to have co-creators to the form, it creates a new URL. I just get this URL to the person, and then they have the same view I have, and they can add additional stuff and manage it just like I can. And by the way, with forums, I didn't really show this, but if I go to responses here, that's too bad. There's some that have really cool visualizations. Like if you had like a multiple choice question, you'd have graphs and stuff like that. But anyway, it visualizes it, and then you can also download it to Excel for data management. So you have all that at your fingertips. Great question.
Yeah, and let me see if there's any more on forms. Yes, we have some people that really want to have a Power Automate session. I hear you, absolutely.
Let's set that up.
I agree. I think we should get a SME on there. One of the questions that we got was about, are there templates for Teams? And quick answer is no. Longer answer is, I think Teams is so customizable, and that is one of the wonderful features of Teams. Each team looks very different. So it's a broader conversation when you ask, what are some boilerplate situations for organizations? What are some channels that are, great to always have? It really depends on what you're trying to accomplish. So if you're trying to create a work group, that has what's it called, like, boilerplate channels. Like if you have an organization that runs on, there's a marketing department, an HR department, a finance department, those are great channels. But really, we would, combat this by asking, well, what are you trying to get accomplished? Are you trying to create an organizational structure with like hierarchical channels? Are you trying to create a project team that has different deliverables? So it really just depends on what work you're trying to do, and kind of how fast you want to get that done, and how does the information that you're trying to accomplish need to be divided. So, please feel free to reach out and ask, more specific questions. But I think that session on channel management and teams management next week will be really helpful. So, just to kind of add there, it all just so heavily depends on what you're looking for.
Very good. So I'm going to go to the second use case. Happy to answer more questions about Power Automate and forms and stuff a little bit later if interested. But the second use case is going to be delivering, facilitating longer sessions with a group of people and having the option for like breakout rooms, like a breakout room type of solution. In Teams right now, it doesn't have like a built-in breakout room capability, although it is coming soon. It's something our product group is hard at work on. We don't have a date for when that'll be available in GCC yet, but there is a great like workaround that you can use right now to facilitate sessions in Teams. So here's the idea: is we're going to set up a team, and we're going to use this team for an event. So you can have up to 10,000 people in a team, right? So you could have a ton of people in this team. And so here's my training team. Now, use case here, imaginary use case would be putting on trainings, but you could also do like all hands events, or you could do any type of like larger, maybe it's some kind of collaboration session that you're doing with a group of people virtually. You can do it in this way too. Okay, so anyway, so with my larger training team, you see here as the owner of the team, I have a general channel, and then I have four private channels. So what I did is I set up the general channel. We're going to use the general channel for all of the general sessions. So in this, let's say I have 5,000 people in this team. Let's go big, okay? Or let's say 4,000. I have 4,000 people in this team. I want all 4,000 to use this general channel to chat and to join the general sessions. But I want only like 1,000 people. Well, this would be a lot of people, but you could do it. 1,000 people in each one of these breakouts. And so then for anybody who joins, everyone will have access to the general channel, and they'll be able to use that and see that, all the information there, access the files there, but they'll only see one of these 4 breakouts. They'll only see the one that they're assigned to. For those who haven't played around with private channels, these are completely separate private workspaces. So the way that you set up a channel is clicking the ellipses and clicking adding channel. The way that you would set up private is you put in your information, and this little drop down here, you have the option to go standard or private. If you click private, it sets up like an entirely different workspace with an entirely different SharePoint online library. Like it's really a separate space for people to work on, okay? And then only the people that you invite to that channel have access to it. So even if you have, let's say, 10 owners of the team and you set up a private channel, those other 9 owners will not see that private channel unless you admit them. So it's like a completely private space unless people are invited. So what I would do to set this up is I'd set up the general channel, and I'd assign everybody to one of 4 breakout rooms. And then I tell everyone to join the general channel. So what we do here is we set up our big session here, right? So you might do a nice welcome thing like I did. For those who don't know how to do this is kind of a fun little best practice. Is if you click expand font, by default it's a new conversation, but you can also click an announcement. And if you click announcement, then you can like type in a headline, you can put in a little picture here like I did, and then you can type more stuff, and it kind of broadcasts it out like this one looks. You have a little announcement icon up top, you have a picture, big letters, it emphasizes it. So anyway, so I can say, hey, well, welcome to the training. And then I set up a training session. I could do it again here, but you see I set up this general session here for everybody to join. Now, once that spins up, everyone who has access to this team can just jump right in and can join the session, and we can get our general session going together. And then throughout the day, let's say that people are going out to the private breakout room to do a smaller discussion and smaller work. Well, then that person can go to, let's say, breakout 1. They can post any specific files they want here. They can work on files here. They could add, their OneNote and whatever else that they're doing in here and work together as a team. And then let's say they have their final deck that they've made at the end of the day or something, and they're going to go share it with a larger group. They can go back and upload it back into this general channel. So anyway, so that's a great way to manage both a larger group and then subgroups for a longer session. And you could use the same group of channels like for a day event, for event that's only an hour, or for event that's like a week. You can just keep reusing it, right? Because all of these will stay available as long as you need them. And then quickly, there's a bunch of stuff that you could post up in this facilitated training, right? So by default, you have files. I probably don't need to go through that. You're all familiar with this. You have your files that everybody can upload and co-author in. I put a wiki with resources in here. You could use a wiki to consolidate different information. Like, let's say that throughout the training session or the collaboration session, there are like things that people really want quick access to and are important. You could pop them in here, and then people could easily refer to it afterwards. You can pop in your agenda for the session here, so everybody can quickly click that and know exactly what to expect or the next day or the next week. You can put a OneNote in. This is a great tool for not only taking notes, but also for whiteboarding. So I think I have I put a little whiteboarding thing in here. Like, look how easy this is, right? Like, click on whiteboarding, click on whiteboard, and I click draw, and now I can just, just do all that. If I had a stylus, like a electronic pen, I could use that. But now we have a whiteboard that's available to the whole group that the whole group can co-collaborate in at the same time, which is really nice to have, right? Like if someone's like, oh, I just is talking about something, but they want to visualize it, they can just grab the OneNote and present that and whiteboard in that real time, and people can play off that with each other. So I already gone through forms. Let's say that you wanted to send a post-session survey afterwards. Well, what you can do is you can use the website tab. So if I click this, it's this pink tab, and I can take the URL from the form that I grabbed earlier that you saw me use, post it in here. And now this is a workable form that anybody can go in, they can say what breakout they're in, they can give us their feedback, and they can submit it, right? Boom. You can use Stream. If you have access to Stream and that's activated, you can use this to set up a training channel. So isn't that cool? So right now I click this and I have, these are two different videos in the training channel. I could add, let's say, a series of trainings, or if this is a longer collaboration session, a series like of each day. And people could just click this link and go in and watch these whenever they want. Like, it's just that easy and never even have to leave Teams. I can also link to external websites. Like, this is a training center, so this would be like, hey, for more follow-up, you could go here. Don't know why I added Bing in there, but and then just to show it, because this comes up a lot, what you could do is you could have that agenda, or you could actually use a calendar in SharePoint and actually build out what to expect for the next week, or the next, maybe the training schedule of the next month or something like that. And then people could actually go in here and sync it to their calendar and use this as a separate group calendar. This is a calendar that's associated with the team, and everyone in the team has access to it and can add on to it. So it's like a collaborative calendar that everyone in the team can use. So that was kind of a whirlwind tour, but anyway, I've had a lot of training groups kind of asked me what we would recommend and how to do that, and that's my recommendation. So I'll take any questions. Abby?
Yeah, I think that you just illuminated a great point as far as sharing calendars. I know that there's another way to, did you just do the website tab with Outlook calendar?
Yeah.
Okay, so that answers like 2 or 3 questions that have been submitted.
So actually, just to be clear, I could go through and do it if there's interest, but this is a web app in SharePoint. Okay. So every team has a backend SharePoint site. So if you go to Files and click Open in SharePoint, right. This is your backend SharePoint site. So I actually added a web app in here that was a calendar app, and then I used the website tab, that pink tab again, this one.
And for those of you that are not seeing the website tab, that needs to be, sometimes it's blocked by default. And so sometimes your IT, your admin needs to go in and actually manually unblock that tab from being something that you can't use. So if you're not seeing that pink website tab, I definitely would reach out to your IT department, because not everyone knows that it's available. And then we do have a question about adding the forms tab. In my understanding is it wasn't added as a tab. It was actually was it? You go ahead.
Yeah, right. So forms doesn't show up here. So, that'd be nice. It's not in though. What we use is the website tab. So basically what it is, I click the website tab, I just typed in survey. And then in my form, that URL that I had shown earlier to share it out publicly, I just copy that and I paste it in here. And then it just, from that, using the website tab, it'll look like this.
So he really pulled the link from forms in the forms on the web browser, and then he used that link and he inserted that into the website tab, the prompting through the URL.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
Okay. Let's see here.
If there's any interest on any of these apps, I'll just kind of quickly show some of the most common apps that I see in GCC. Here are some, over here, if you just look on this on the right side, not so much the left side, but over here are the ones that I'll see my customers use it over and over again. If there's any interest in exploring any of these in more detail, or maybe another session on, these kind of use cases, of course, fill out the form and let us know, because we're happy to chat through it.
Yeah, I'm gonna pop that forms.
But this is a quick summary of some of the most popular apps that Microsoft provides in Teams, just for reference.
I'm pulling that link right now.
And all available in GCC, by the way.
And we do have some sessions from August already on the YouTube link that I just shared. It's made an announcement in the Q&A feed. So if you are curious, or if you would like to learn more about app and tab integration, we actually just did a session this past Tuesday with a kind of a real life project situation. And we did a lot of tab and app integration in that session. That was August 26th. So feel free to take a look. And then I'm adding the feedback survey here. Okay. And then we're getting some great feedback on forms. People have enjoyed forms more than some other survey situations. So that's great to know. Thank you for that. And then we just got a question, Adam, are all of these applications available as a standard option, or are they add-ons?
These are all available standard. The one exception might be Power Apps if you want to do heavy development on it. But standard, all of these should be available on like a G3 license, which most of our government customers have at least a G3 license. So
right.
Yeah.
And then one other question as far as calendars, and this is something that I actually don't know about, because we do have some attendees on the line right now who are executive administrators, and they are managing, calendars for their managers. Yeah. So are they able to access those managed calendars in Teams, or is that only through Outlook?
I think that's only an Outlook. I might be wrong on that, Abby, but I think that's only an Outlook feature.
That's what my understanding was as well. And I would guess that engineering is probably working on something along the lines of making sure that exec admin collaboration can happen in Teams at some point. But I think that the team space, it might help to maybe think of it more as a your space kind of situation. So your calendar is going to be heavily based on what you do throughout your rhythm of business and throughout your day. And I know that for exec admins that is a little bit of a different look. I know that we have some Art of the Possible sessions from executive admins perspectives. See if I can find the link to some of those. But yeah, my understanding is it's only an Outlook, but all right. Okay, and then, go ahead, Adam.
No, I think that was it. Is it? I'll close down on my side unless there's anything else that's, I don't know. You want me to share? I'm looking at the questions. I think we've gotten to most of them.
Yep, I have been zooming through these. I really, really love all the interaction today. I just switched to my screen, y'all. And this is the feedback form we've got going. Just please feel free to throw that down. I'm the coordinator for the September schedule and probably October. So if you have anything that you'd like to see, throw it in there. Another really cool thing that if you guys are using the website tab, you could actually go into our YouTube playlist that we have running right now, and you could integrate that URL into a Teams channel. So if you wanted to set up a channel for Teams training within your organization, great idea. If people need some awareness, or if they're not quite sure what to do with the app integration or smart meetings, go ahead and point them towards this YouTube channel. We've got all of our sessions recorded, and this playlist will remain live for the duration of September as well. So I'm going to head over to my demo tenant again. All right, and now I'm just kind of looking at questions. I think that was a really, really great use case. Adam, I appreciate that. Oh, well, hold on.
We do have a couple questions around Microsoft Listens to Do. So I can address that real fast.
Sure.
Brett, if you're out there still. So To Do isn't available in the government space, just a heads up. So the equivalent for GCC is Tasks in Outlook. So To Do is it's a standalone app that integrates with Tasks, but it's not available in GCC. So Tasks in Outlook are still the best way to do like those type of tasks. So that's the first question. Second was Microsoft Lists. That's coming out soon. If you've used SharePoint Lists in the past, it's a really popular app in SharePoint with a lot of different use cases. What we've done at Microsoft is we've really upgraded the interface for lists. So instead of it being kind of the older clunky sort of view in SharePoint, it's now has a nice new web app that you can access via your app launcher, via the Waffle. And it makes it a lot easier to collaborate on lists with other people. That's a great use case, or a great way to, like, let's say you want to track an inventory list for your team, or let's say you want to track you're hiring for a role and you're interviewing 10 people and you want to track those 10 people through the different stages and make sure that, you know, that the right people have been set up interviews with them. Or let's say that you wanted to, I don't know, some kind of process or inventory tracking for a group. It's going to be a great way to do it. So that's Microsoft Lists, and that's coming out in the next month or so. Actually, probably sooner. To everyone in GCC.
I would guess probably. I'm not going to actually guess. I hate putting dates on on when things are going to come out, but I would assume in the next 30 days.
Yeah, that one's going to be quick.
One of the questions that we had earlier was around if you can go view members of a team, and just so everyone is, just to reiterate this. If you are a member of the Newsletter Ninjas team, you are a member of every channel underneath that team, except for any private channels. If you don't see a little master lock on any of your channels, then you're just not a member of any private channels. If you see that private channel, you can actually go into using this ellipses and you can see manage channel, and you can see who are the members of that private channel. But if you don't have any master lock, assume that you are just, you know, anyone in that team is a member of the subsequent channels. And I know that internally we actually have an all hands meeting this afternoon at 2 p.m. Eastern. So I plan on trying to make this session 60 minutes, and we're coming up on that, but I will be here until all questions have been answered. So don't think I'm going anywhere, guys. If you have questions, please submit them and I will hang out. Adam, I know you were going to hop, so.
Yeah, hang out another couple minutes. Appreciate everyone's time today. It looks like we're closing down. If you have any other questions, please pop them in the Q&A and we'll get around and we'll answer everything we can.
And I love that the very first tip and trick I said, that the little up arrow thing has had so much interest. If you, the up arrow button, that up arrow hack will only work for the very most previous chat you've sent. So if you send another one, it's going to work on that most previous chat. And I don't know if how long that little cheat act lasts for, but let's see. I sent this.
Yeah, that's
this one at 122. Let's see. Okay, so I sent it at 122. We're 34 minutes later, and I can't go back up and do it. I'll try again on one-on-one. Oh, you can do it on a one-on-one, but not on a group chat. And we did have a question about Planner being used in private channels, and as of right now, it's only in public channels. And I don't have a timeline on when that fix might occur, but I would imagine that they're going to try to get that to be able to be utilized. Awesome. And as people are leaving, thank you guys so much for joining. And for those of you that have attended all of the August sessions, I really appreciate it. And your feedback is seriously taken for real. I hope that you will share with us anything that you're interested in seeing in the future. And know that that's not just an obligatory feedback form. I really do go through that myself and take your advice. And I have a little list of all the things that everyone said in the past month. And I hope to end September with another best practices session. And I'm going to post the schedule on YouTube. I'm going to find a way to make that a picture on the YouTube page. If it doesn't work on YouTube, then expect an email in the next day or two from your Microsoft account executives or your CSM with that schedule for September. And October is a completely blank slate, so this really is the opportunity to say if you want to have a different type of session, if you want more technical, if you would like to have something specific, please let us know. We just got a question about reordering the tabs across the top of a channel. Unfortunately, you cannot.
You can reorder the tabs that aren't the poster files. You can reorder the other ones.
Oh, you can?
Mm-hmm. If you just click and drag them
around,
and
you drop.
Can. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I'm wrong. Darn it! I hate when that happens.
Hey, learn something new every day.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Adam. Okay, so yeah, you can't, the by default tabs you cannot reorder, but cool.
Yeah. We have some planner interest, Abby.
I know, I saw that. Yes, yeah. I just made a note of it. Perfect.
All right, Abby, I think we're looking good on questions. Should I go and close down the Q&A?
Sounds like a plan. Yep. Thank you guys so much
everyone.
for attending.